Oh,
here we go.
okay.
We're live.
That kind of money.
We are live.
What up, Unit family?
Yep.
Good morning. Good morning.
Finders.
Y'all add us, comment us. You know the drill. You know the drill. Hey Dan, it's been a minute. So I got a question for you. What's the weather like in Tampa today?
He hasn't known for weeks.
Dude, it is hot. It's rainy season for us. So about 3:00 every day it rains, but it's that time of the year we get about 3 weeks of it, or it just deluges for a few hours. So we're in that point of it. In a couple weeks, it'll just move to like an afternoon, like what we call a rain shower, what we call sun shower here. But it is hot, muggy. But the Tampa Bay Lightning are just 2 wins away from the Stanley Cup.
Two wins away. Sports puck, as Jake says.
Pew, 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 pew.
Hey, y'all add us, comment us. I see y'all watching. No lurkers on this Thursday. No lurkers. Don't be a lurker. Add us, comment us. Let us know where you're tuning in from.
Participate.
What's going on? Good morning, Brandon. Good morning. Hey, so it's obviously we'll go ahead and dive in and we'll just chit chat for a second. So obviously it's been a minute since we've been live.
Yeah.
We are all very busy people. But we're excited. We're excited because we have Pia. What's going on? So 82 in Vegas. It's brutal, but y'all don't have the humidity though, so that's nice. So we obviously have a lot going on within kind of what we do, but we're really excited because we got some guests coming on. So, Jake, can you give like a little sneak peek of maybe some people you got coming on?
Oh yeah. We've got the chief product officer of not even a startup anymore. Now they're a big old company for wearable technology. You might have heard of it, called Whoop. Pretty cool. Anyone that is into the fitness should have heard about it by now. Big fan. So really excited to talk to him. We've got the founder of Persevere coming up, Amy Braden. You've seen her comment on here. She's been a long time follower and contributor to Unicorn Finders. He started the company, and that is a turnaround and opportunity code school for folks that have been previously incarcerated, and it's so awesome to be able to give them the opportunity to change their life for the better. So really excited to hear that story. That's coming in the next couple of weeks. And TD, you had a really good one coming up next week, right?
Yeah. So next week we're gonna have my dude Daniel Norton. As long as I get it on the calendar. I haven't gotten the calendar yet. So Daniel Norton from Neural Payments. He's in the payment processing startup, kind of providing. We were kind of chatting beforehand. There is a PayPal for banks, but what I'm saying, I think he's doing a different type of thing. But we're gonna talk about it because I really have no idea what he does. So we're gonna talk about that.
Talking about fintech in general and some of the regulations, some of the stuff.
Fintech. That's
the real buzzword, Taylor. It's fintech.
Yeah. And then I have another guy I'm trying to get in. I met him actually at a bar here in Nashville. I went out. So I was working. Yes, I worked at a Saturday night. And it was 9:30 p.m. And Jackie goes, "Hey, there's some people coming out. You should come hang out." It was a bunch of my musician friends when I moved up here. There was one guy who like wasn't hanging out with the musician people, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I should go talk to him." He's founder, CEO of a blockchain-based company here in Nashville. Wow. So we're gonna get him on. So that was great. And then I have one more out in the ether. So a lot of good stuff.
You got to send him that awesome blockchain NFT interview we did a few months ago. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I think that's actually our most viewed one. I think about it.
I think so. That and Emma. Hey, I want to give some shouts to people again. Hemoth, what's up? Good morning, Brandon. Good morning. Yeah, we got 3 Brandons. Brandon. I love it. Jarrett, what's up, big dog?
My dude.
Hey, we're rebranding for you.
Please stop, Jake.
Was that bad?
Oh boy.
Misty,
Andrew, what's up? It's good to see you.
Andrew, what kind of coffee are you drinking today?
And shout out to Andrew for like basically helping me with this whole mic setup. I had no idea what I was doing. I'm surprised I haven't broken anything yet. Ben, what's up, dude? Please send info. I'm assuming for your call. Do I need to send info?
Very good.
Anyways,
Yeah,
all right, boys,
phone.
let's go and dive into the topic today. Well, for those of you who are tuning in, don't know what Unicorn Finders is, I want to give a quick background before we get rolling. So Jake, Dan, and I are friends. We are very good friends. We actually hang out after hours, and we actually like talk about non-work stuff sometimes.
Sometimes you guys hang out without me.
But that was because Jake's flight was canceled.
No,
Why don't you? Hey, you and I are hanging out in September without Jake. So that's
right.
Yeah,
that's what you think.
And I will shower you with my love, Daniel.
Can't wait.
For longer than 45 minutes. So,
Whoa.
Yeah, never mind. Let's move on. So, so Unicorn Finders was out of basically COVID, where both Jake, Dan, and I, we love talking about different topics, staffing, non-staffing, business, etc. So we just decided to do this thing. And so over a year later, we've had an amazing guest. We've had people from Spotify, AWS, Netflix, Pluralsight. I know I'm missing stuff. Google. I mean, we've had some pretty amazing guests. So our goal in this
shout out to Unicorn Finders, former guest Ruben Pressman and his company for being acquired by for big dollars.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
So cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you don't follow us on the LinkedIn and the Twitter, we shared some of that article too, so you can see some of the successes of our former guests, current friends, doing stuff. So I mean, that's really what it is, right? I mean, we had all these great professional friends in our network with great stories that people need to be able to hear about, right? So we started this to bring all those together from different all over the world now, and from different regions. I'm in Raleigh, Taylor's in Nashville, Dan's in Tampa. There's just great people everywhere. So how do we help tell those stories? Yeah, Ben, we know you like Emma Bastian's episode. She was awesome. It's true.
Yep. Jarrett, two best friends.
Hey, Jarrett.
And then, Ben, I will chat with you after the call about that guy, because he's a good dude to know. So we're going to dive in to talk about hiring, but we're going to talk about hiring from a company side, because companies, hiring managers, tech leads, CTOs, VPs of engineers, directors, y'all need to get together. I'm just
wait. In their defense, their full-time job is not to hire.
Fair. Okay.
Right. Okay. So they have to make a priority in making time for it. That's really, I think, the first part of the breakdown is, all right, I got to run all this other stuff. I got this budget. I got the existing team to, keep happy and productive, and gotta go PTO. And then also my kids in the background because we're working from home. So we do need to figure out how to step one thing closer, so that way we're not just shitting on hiring managers all the time in their full-time jobs.
No, I don't think that's the case at all. And I think that there needs to be a lot of, we talk about empathy, but constructs put into place to help hiring managers that are bleeding and need people, that the company itself needs to have a structure in place to make sure that some of that workload can be divvied off. Because Jake, like you said, it's a chicken and the egg thing, right? Like, I'm too busy, therefore I need to hire somebody, but I'm too busy to make time for interviews. But I also know that if I pull off of my job and something goes missing, I'm going to get yelled at for the company, for not being as productive as we need to be. It's a tough problem. So there definitely needs to be some better internal constructs at a lot of companies.
So let's talk about internal constructs and how can we help and advise hiring managers right now, and just trying to get better and trying to be more efficient. Jake, Dan, I know y'all have a ton of thoughts on this. So whoever wants to take it first.
Yeah, I can take a couple things. I would say let's talk about recruiting.
Also, I'd love to hear people's comment or read people's comments on this. Hey, what would you change? Yeah, so throw those in there too.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dan.
Let's talk recruiting for a second. One of the things that I think is so important is that a lot of times things get lost because we don't spend an extra couple minutes explaining things, or we just pass the buck and say, for instance, I think of job descriptions, right? A lot of times job descriptions are so vague and opaque, and we don't really know because we don't really sit down to dive into what exactly are we looking for, right? And so a lot of time is wasted in looking for people that are look to be perceived fits, or maybe the job description is way too narrow and it doesn't open up the pool. So we sit in this revolving door of, well, I don't have candidates. Well, I don't know what exactly you're looking for. Well, this is what I'm looking for, but it's not told to the person that's actually, helping recruit, right? I mean, I have this conversation with clients all the time. It's like, I can read your job description. Like, fortunately, like my parents were like, very important, like thing that I had to learn growing up was reading. But tell me, like, beyond this, what are you looking for?
Wealthy.
I can talk to somebody about it, right? So I think that's it. I think that there's often a miscommunication because it's like, I'm so busy. It's like, well, sometimes if we took just an extra 3 minutes, that could save literally hours and hours and hours.
So that breakdown you're talking about is if I'm a technical hiring manager and I'm going to submit a request in a large organization to HR or the recruiting people, all right, I would need to actually say what I need. Just slow down for a second and say it versus just send me a developer, and just
right, exactly. And I think that happens a lot, and I don't think it's anybody's fault. I think it's just the nature of, hey, I need you to help me find a developer. Go find me a developer, and sometimes it's so much. I mean, you guys know it's a lot easier said than done. So, but I do think it's important to talk to, let's just say talent acquisition, or talk to a recruiter that you're working with to explain what exactly that person's doing, so that when I'm talking to a candidate, I can ask them about their experience building a portal, right? Or building a payment application, or building a variety of different things, because I know that plugs in. I mean, Jake, if you say you're looking for a C# developer, and I just send you 30 C# developers, they could all come from 30 different backgrounds, of which none are. Sorry, I will never send you a C# developer, Jake.
I would never.
But fine. I could send you 20 different
Python,
JavaScript developers or Python developers, and they could all have done 20 different things, none of which is necessarily what I'm looking for. Right. And I could have spent, an hour plus, reviewing resumes, and, when in reality we could have, started that conversation off, a little bit better. And then I have a flip side of that argument later.
I mean, in that case, it's the simple thing is just like every other type of project or anything else we want to get done. Just going straight into it often is a little bit messier versus slowing down a quick second. Just like when Taylor, when you talked about someone searching for a job, slow down a second, breathe, build out a plan, build out the spreadsheet, build out what I actually need, whatever. Yeah.
Companies got to know their whys too, man. I mean, I guess that's the thing. Like, for example, I have a candidate that I placed recently in a direct hire gig, which, by the way, listen, this is a whole another damn conversation. And yes, I'm cursing because I've had some coffee this morning.
Ooh.
Contract to hire versus direct hire. I have more candidates that bail on direct hire than contract to hire, because I feel like companies do not understand and do not spec out a role appropriately. They go, oh, we have the headcount, let's just hire. For example, my developer got placed, open source space, Jake, open source. They placed them, or I placed them, gets in, they go, oh, the project they had me pegged for just got canned, so I have nothing to do. Companies, what the hell are y'all doing? Like, what are you doing?
Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of other like outside forces that, like, for example, you've got Apple coming here to Raleigh, right? Apple has promised X number of hires in X number of years to get their tax credits, right? So sometimes they're just going to freaking hire without knowing, because they're like, well, if we don't hire those other 20 people.
I'm talking about
I'm saying
yeah, but that's who he works with, Taylor. Come on,
No, I don't.
Jake's the
I run away from Apple.
Yeah. So real quick, so we have some comments. So Jarrett obviously bringing the heat, and again, StreamYard. I need to put an IT ticket. Y'all need to adjust these damn things. Jarrett, having access to the direct hiring authority is imperative to a successful search. You must know the key initiatives and project this person or persons will be tasked with, as it is the sell to the top talent. Most HR teams do not know these key details. Yeah, listen, Jake, stop.
Well, Jake, before you dive into that, pull up Brandon's comment, because I think that's going to hit exactly what you're going to say.
Brandon goes, hiring should be viewed no differently than any technology deliverable. Less time will be wasted if you spend the time up front, define what is needed, and ensure you have a tight feedback. Bruh, Brandon's just bringing the heat this morning. I mean, also, Jarrett, you're bringing the heat too, but
There's an entire job like within IT, like called a business analyst that like literally does that, and IT people hire them all the time, right? So, let's do that. And I know it can seem like as non-revenue generating activity, or this isn't like the best use of my time, but you have to think about it as a long game, right? Like, don't be, penny wise and pound foolish. Let people who you're working with, know what you're looking for to save yourself time, help the business, help the company get better. Because how many hiring managers would love to get hiring done as quickly as possible? I mean, I work with very few hiring managers that actually like love hiring people. They like people, but they don't like going through the process of hiring people, right?
Yeah.
I don't like it, and I hire people.
Yeah. I mean, that's a different perspective, Brandon, just in general around being really responsible of the overall budget and overall profitability of the company versus, hey, my little sliver of this is just to hire 10 people, as opposed to, hey, we're going to save ourselves a lot of time, heartache, dollars later by slowing down to speed up. What's that old thing? When I go slow, I go faster, right? Just having that mindset is much more responsible. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
All righty, there we go. If you get anything out of this morning session, it's that right there. But and so, yeah, I mean, again, and back to what Jarrett said. I mean, I'm not going to call names. Doctor-patient confidentiality is real in our industry. There's one company who wanted to work with us, and I was so excited. That company has proceeded to just use us to fling resumes.
Ugh.
And it's like you wonder why we can't get wins. That's not how you need to partner with a recruiting firm. But I think, and I'm interested to hear y'all's thoughts, I feel like, especially more on the hiring manager side, but also HR, people have to justify their positions in companies, and they let ego and they let like basically their personalities get in the way on how they do things and how they should evaluate talent.
I think
no.
Go ahead.
Can you throw this question up real fast? Answer really quick.
No, answer my question. We'll get to Hemoth in a second. We'll get to Hemoth in a second. Focus.
Fine. Answer's no, Hemoth. But I think that if a company is not going to value the process enough to engage with the person bringing you to them, they're not going to value you and the time it takes to know who you are as an individual throughout your career with that company. So that's what I think about all of these like quick sourcing automation tools, all this kind of stuff. It's like, just dump resumes in my inbox. It's like, it doesn't even, they don't care, right? They really don't, or maybe they care, but their priorities are wrong. Right. Mm-hmm. So if they're not going to prioritize at the beginning of the process, they're not going to prioritize you throughout your career there. And that's all I got to say about that.
Wow. Yeah. There we go.
Hemoth, the answer is still no to your question.
Sorry, buddy.
No. Unless you're a Mendix person, which I got a job for you, says Jarrett. I would say also another thing that we can talk about here is the idea of knowing what you want at the beginning, being clear and concise on what characteristics am I looking for, what technological aptitude that I'm looking for, to a point that whether I interview one person or whether I interview 10 people for that position, I should feel comfortable in knowing that if that person checks these boxes, and you can weigh them differently, right? But if the person checks these boxes, that I am willing to pull the trigger on either the first person interview, maybe the 10th person I've interviewed, but don't wait around to interview a lot of people, like an actual lot, like not a lot of people, to just make your decision from them. Yes. Because you're going to potentially miss out on the person that you wanted to hire, because if you want to hire them, I guarantee you there is at least one other company that is willing to hire that person too. So don't lose it just because you feel like you need to interview everybody. Know what you're looking for, compare them to the group of people that you've interviewed in the past, and be able to make a quick, fast decision. Doesn't mean you have to pull the trigger on the first one every time. It just means that you know what you're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, and Ben brings up, I was recently pitched for a position, then they moved me into content and presentation department role, why didn't I get pitched for this senior front end software engineer within that company? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think companies, I think companies and recruiters want to hear what they want to hear.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of recruiters just don't understand technology either. So, especially HR, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and why I would say that, Jake, but I'd also say in the agency world too, there's a lot of them that don't, right? And a lot of times we work on shoddy details, especially that's why I stay away from VMS systems and stuff like that, or you don't have the ability to talk to a hiring manager that I don't know what you're looking for.
Right.
And the only recourse is for me to just send you whatever's out there. And we're fortunate, we don't, my team doesn't have these like random KPIs of number of people that they need to submit in a day, but there's companies that do. And I promise you, they just don't care about the person. They care about hitting that metric.
Well, I talked to someone we were interviewing that the other half of my office interviewing to bring on internally the other day. And the only way they were compensated was on the number of submittals they had to a job, not on quality, not on interview. That was they were bonus off of that. And I was like, no wonder that agency has a terrible name in the market. They're just completely butchering people.
Also too, like, recruiters get, I talk about this all the time. Recruiters get a bad reputation, and I get it. I understand. It's like Dan said, a lot of agency recruiters like me, Jake, and Dan don't have knowledge, right? So I get that. I understand that. But I also think too, I'm going to say this, and maybe I'm wrong, more than 50% of the time, more than half of the time, it's actually the company's fault because all we do is get requirements from the company. And a lot of times the companies, because they do not have any idea what they are doing, then give us those specs. And then it's a terrible interview experience for the candidate, but we're just given these specs and then it makes us look bad.
I mean, I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, that's one of the reasons, like when we approach services, that's what we do. Is a big part of what we do before we can commit to anything else is discovery and planning, right? The iteration zero is so important. Before half the time you're actually going to get overcharged if you go to just development, because it's like, hey, it feels real big. You need 10 people for 12 months to do it.
You need 2 people for 3 months. It
happens a lot. Yeah. So for us, it's like, just pay the little teeny bit to get the right discovery. And if you want to shop it after, that's fine. But again, what's the other thing? Failing to plan is planning to fail.
Good Lord, have mercy. So, if you get anything out of this episode, it's all of the Jake-isms. Answer your question. Will DevOps become obsolete because full stack developers are in high demand in today's market? What's the best way to understand the market and its trends? I will tell you the second part. What's the best way to understand the market and trends? Partner with guys like me, Jake, and Dan, who can tell you who see it nationally and who are in it. But no, I don't think DevOps is just getting hotter than ever right now, right, guys?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say there's two different sides to that, right? There's infrastructure and then platform. And the infrastructure service is interesting because some companies who have tried to go to cloud have done more lift and shift, and they're not actually able to maximize clouds. They're still having to maintain it the same way that you had to in old infrastructure. So that will become more of a maintenance role, but still a pretty secure role. It'll most likely be something that's outsourced now. It is right now and in the future. The other side of that, the platform, the other side of the platform as a service is interesting because once that's built, like we've been debating about this internally for our team for a while now, is that some companies will choose Kubernetes, for example, but they're really not big enough to justify choosing something that is as powerful as Kubernetes. So they get all shiny, they get it in there, and then they don't realize the maintenance that it really takes to keep that going. So again, you'll turn straight back into maintenance development quicker than you'd think. So instead of needing 10 people to build that up, you're going to need 1 or 2 people to maintain it with some of these new automation tools and orchestration tools that have come out. So I still wouldn't say obsolete, but just be prepared to go from build to more maintenance sooner.
Interesting.
And
Cool.
I also think the same way you saw this with a lot of mobile, the same way you saw this with big data. I think a lot of people wanted to jump in it right away because it was a really big trend. I think that you're going to see some pulling back, not necessarily from your larger companies or even mid-sized companies, but your companies that maybe wanted to experiment with it, try to figure out how that best works in the organization. I mean, it happens all the time, and it's going to continue to happen. With tech, that doesn't mean that any jobs necessarily are going to disappear, like Jake said. All of that is 100% truthful, but there might be some shift. There's some readjustment just by the nature of technology and jumping in, as a lot of tech people do, head first right in.
Right.
Yeah. And what I would say to keep yourself just prepared for future is focus on understanding architectural principles in whatever part of the stack that you live in really, really well, and kind of know some of those the dependencies of what you touch and how, and some of the best practices. So that way, if you do have to kind of drop out different technologies, you can at least understand where and how those fit in well, as opposed to becoming, I'm going to stay fully in this one little sliver of DevOps or cloud ops, and just I'm going to be the expert at this one. That could potentially be, a COBOL situation again, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm just going to be COBOL expert, and then
I love it. Well, boys, that was fun. We should do it again sometime.
See y'all next week. Yeah, how about next week? Like Thursday, 10:30
Thursday,
Eastern?
9:30. Thursdays, 9:30
Eastern.
Central. We're going to talk to my guy that I have no idea what he does. Again, y'all, we are, go like us on LinkedIn. That's kind of our main platform. We are in the podcast store, Unicorn Finders. I'm working on uploading all of our episodes here in the next week because I got behind on those. Rate us, review us, share this episode with your friends. Share it today. I think there's a lot of people in the job search that, I think a lot of hiring managers, a lot of companies need to hear this episode. So y'all feel free to share it. And again, we appreciate y'all's support a ton. Y'all have a great rest of your week. Peace.
Later.